LSU. As we all know, South Carolina beat LSU 79 to 72 to become the SEC champions. First, I just want to get on your thoughts on the game. And if you think this is a rivalry, it seems like it's starting to get to that rivalry status. But if you think it is, and then I have a follow-up question after that. Jay, I'm going to come to you first on this
So
one.
I'm assuming the scuffle is going to be your follow-up question. So I'm going to stay away from that and just talk about the game for now.
No, you could talk. You could talk about the scuffle. The
Okay.
follow-up question is about it, but not directly about it.
Okay. So from a game standpoint, I think the biggest difference between South Carolina and LSU, I think both their starting fives are really good. The thing I think Dawn has done over the course of the year is she has gone 9, 10, sometimes 11 deep into her bench.
Mm-hmm.
And she's developed those young players to now she feels confident that she can actually put them on the floor. Whereas Kim has only played 6, maybe 7 people, and she has no bench. So when you play a team like South Carolina that can run 10 or 11 girls at you when you're trying to play with 6 or 7, it just gets tough in the fourth quarter. So to me, I think that's the biggest difference in those two teams. As far as a little scuffle, I hated it and I loved it at the same time. I really did, because these women are playing for an SEC championship. There's a lot on the line. They're passionate. They're out there banging. It's physical. And sometimes those things happen. And we see it happen in the men's game all the time, a little pushing, a little shoving. And I don't think we need to make a huge deal about it, right? I do place some blame on the refs, because I felt like there were things that happened throughout the course of the game where they could have kind of talked to the teams and got the game under control. So you can kind of feel it festering. But it was unfortunate because it put a little bit of a black eye on the game. But I don't think, it's this huge deal that maybe some of the national media is trying to turn it into.
Yeah. My goodness, is South Carolina good? Like you said, they're very deep. Very deep. Angel Reese did everything she could, but I have to give credit to when she was playing. Cardoso is a much better player than I really think she is. Because when I look at it a lot of times I just see her as a big body down low. And a lot of people struggle with big bodies. That's why teams want that big body down low. But she's a lot more skilled than what I thought. Because I used to say she don't have no post moves. I'm not understanding the situation. I don't understand why everybody's so high up on her. But I do like her game. She does still have some more to develop, of course. But overall, man, when one player on South Carolina is just not playing well, you have someone to pick up the slack. You really do. And I think that's what kind of happened in this situation. Pow wasn't necessarily hitting on all cylinders. Bree Hall wasn't necessarily hitting on all cylinders. But they had, what is her name? Malaysia. I think her name is Malaysia.
Malaysia Fuwali. Yep.
Yeah.
Yes, killing it. I think she had about 24 points. She picked up the slack where the others just were struggling. And when the Cardosa went out, which is a huge loss for that team, they were able to maintain during the end after that scuffle. But I got to give LSU credit. They did everything they could. I love Angel Reese's game. Of course, I do think, again, I said this before, I do think she needs to develop, like a 15, like a little jump shot to really, do her best at the next level. But for the college game, man, she's a double machine. I just, like Jay alluded to, they're just not deep enough to beat the South Carolina team. And I think that's where they struggled the most. K-Sap, I'm going to come to you next. What are your thoughts on the game?
And Brittany, you know your stuff, huh? I basically gotta, echo some of the things that you said about, because your first question was, do you think it's a rivalry? If you look at it in that sense, because outside of South Carolina, LSU, Iowa, and USC, right? And when you think of them two teams, I would say it's becoming a rivalry, right? You look back at the first game. The first game, LSU jumped out on South Carolina. South Carolina was able to maintain their composure. And just like Jason said, the thing about Dawn Staley, what separates her from most of these, coaches in the in women's college basketball, is she knows how to go into her bag. When we say the bag, she has a lot of tools in her tool bag, and she know what tools to bring out when she's supposed to bring them out. When she goes 10 to 11 deep, that's the difference. Kim Mulkey 6, 7, 8 people deep. And if you notice, every time Angel Reese goes off the floor, the team struggles. The team struggles. And when you said about Cardoso, she's a big body, 6'7". Her and Angel Reese from that first game. What makes it very interesting is the way they're battling down there, talking with each other. It's in the good context of the game because Angel Reese, she's from my hood, she's from Baltimore, so she got that grit and grind. She knows how to play ball, but like you said, Brittany, she has to develop another skill set of that 15-foot jumper because to me personally, some of her moves are not fluid, but it's effective, right?
Right.
She'll miss a easy layup, get her own rebound, get the put back. She goes down there and battle, but like you said, Cardoso, that's a big lady. And, she demands a lot of attention when she's down there battling. But like Jason said, every time Angel Reese goes out the game, LSU suffers. And you saw that in the first game when she fouled out, LSU kind of fell apart. South Carolina went on that run. But big ups to, Dawn Staley for having a brand new starting 5 and still go undefeated.
Yeah.
So she is grooming these young ladies in, and she's like Jason said, the confidence and the skill set that these players have and the trust that she has in her players makes it all right for South Carolina to do what they did. And kudos, like I said, kudos to Dawn Staley. But the first question you said, is it a rivalry? It's becoming a rivalry.
Yeah, K-Sap, I agree with you. I do think it's becoming a rivalry. I didn't think so, last year. That it was, but that competition between Angel Reese and Cardoso, especially those two, I think they helped to make that a rivalry. The back and forth, the hair pulling, the elbows throwing.
I don't think I didn't think you saw that. You saw that clip when she pulled her hair.
That was blatant.
Yes, blatant. Yes.
But LSU is going to have to win to make it like they're 0-4. Like Kim has not beat Dawn since she's been there. So they're going to have to find a way to win one to really make the rivalry official. But you
heard what Angel Reese said at the post-game press conference. She said that they're going to have to see him again. They're going to have to run into him again. So I don't know when they're going to run into him. Is it going to be in the national championship game, the Final Four, or what? Right. But Angel Reese made it abundantly clear, y'all got to see us again. Yeah. We not scared. We not ducking no smoke.
And that's it. And that's the reason why I love Angel Reese. But K-Walk, your thoughts on the game?
Yeah. I mean, you guys hit everything else on the head. Yeah. All seriousness. Yeah. I mean, I'm just going to echo and sound like a little parrot here, man, and a trained parrot, and just repeat everything you guys have said. But yeah, to answer the first question, I really believe it will be a rival for sure. For one, it's in conference. Dawn Staley, Kim, I just don't really like her. And going into this, I didn't like either one of these teams. But I tell you what, Dawn Staley, I'm a newfound fan of yours, Dawn. If you're listening, if you're watching, I loved everything, and I loved how you handled that situation. I mean, in the heat of the moment, right after the game, and the press conference as well. I just loved everything. And something, but maybe it's that Temple thing. I don't know. She did coach at Temple, and ladies and gentlemen, if you don't know, thing. Let me have my moment for a second. Let me give a Temple thing in this.
Brittany had to slide that in there.
I know, right? Yeah, you saw that. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, as a Temple alum, maybe there's something there. But yeah, it's probably a Philly thing. Yeah, to be honest with you, Britt. But yeah, I mean, I just loved everything that the way that how Dawn Staley handled that, and then Cardoso and the way she came out and afterwards and gave that. I don't know if that was a PR thing, but I'm not trying to discredit her. The way she's articulated, what that was. That may have been a PR thing. I don't care. Nonetheless, she said it. She put her name on it. So I loved it, man. And then it was a lot of stuff being, overblown. Jay, to your point with the refs, and I was surprised that you blamed the refs because Jay usually doesn't blame the refs. Jay's usually take the refs off the hook, if you will. We saw this coming. If you watch the game from tip off to the final buzzer, we saw this coming. And you guys mentioned the elbow, the pulling of the hair, things of that nature. And I don't know if you guys read Cardoso's the one when it first started to happen, if you read her lips, she said, because Angel Reese said something to her, and then you read her lips, meaning Cardozo's lips, she said, I love it. I love it. And that's exactly what she said. I love it.
Because that's out of respect. I think that they respectfully battled down there, and they kept it in the context of the game. Yeah,
exactly. And that's exactly where I was going with it. And you know, with that being said, I mean, it's definitely going to be a rivalry, and we're going to see this down the road, and we're going to see, some recruiting things happen for sure. We're going to, when these young ladies that are in high school right now or probably in a transfer portal, things of that nature, they're going to be like, oh, well, I love the way that Mulkey handled this, or I love the way that Dawn Staley handled this. Right. I want to be a part of this because it's going to turn into something. It's starting to turn into something. For sure.
Women's basketball. Come on now. Come on. I'm getting excited. Yes, finally. All right. That's a later question. So I'm not going to jump too quick into that one. But guys, I do have another question pertaining to this. And it is regard to Kim Mulkey and Dawn Staley and what they said after the game regarding the little dust up is what I like to call it. I don't like to call it real full-blown fights, but the dust up. So I am going to play another video, and it's just both their interviews, so it's back to back, so just bear with me. And then when I come back, I just want to get your thoughts. When we come back, I just want to get your thoughts on what they had to say and how it made you feel. All right, here we go.
No one wants to be a part of that. No one wants to see that ugliness. But I can tell you this. I wish she would have pushed Angel Reese. Don't push a kid. You 6'8", don't push somebody that little. That was uncalled for, in my opinion. Let those two girls that were jawing, let them go at it. No one.
Coach Staley, congratulations. Your 8th SEC championship in 10 years. How did you get it done today?
I mean, the players. It's all about the players being able to make plays on both sides of the basketball. I just want to apologize to the basketball community. When you're playing in championship games like this, in our league, things get heated. No bad intentions. They just their emotions got so far ahead of them that sometimes these things happen. So I want to apologize for us playing a part in that, because that's not who we are and that's not what we're about. But I'm happy for the players that were able to finish the game and get us another championship.
Coach, how will you address this with your team?
We're going to talk about it. We've always talked about it. Never leave the bench. Never get too high with the highs or low with the lows. It's hard when you're playing. I played this game a long time, and I can't tell you I was a saint at all times. Okay? Your emotions get the best of you. It's unfortunate that the players that got ejected can't be a part of the celebration.
So I just want to get your thoughts on what they both had to say. Jay, I'm gonna come to you first on this one.
Yeah, so to me, like Kim Mulkey, a complete lack of accountability, right? No one wants to see that mess. Well, your players contributed to it, right? Like they weren't blameless in the situation. And then the whole idea of, I wish she would have pushed Angel Reese. Like, so what then? So that a fight could break out on the court. Look, I understand that there are some things that coaches might say to their team in the locker room and then things that you say publicly, to like, if that's how you really feel, say that to your team in the locker room. That's not something you say publicly. And then obviously Dawn, just incredibly gracious, incredibly apologetic, just total class on Dawn's side and a total lack of accountability on the other side. So honestly, Mulkey should be embarrassed with those comments. Really, I know she's not, because it's on brand for her, but she should be embarrassed. That was disgraceful, in my opinion.
Yeah, it was literally like night and day. Like it literally made no sense to me whatsoever. The things that Kim Mulkey was saying. First of all, Cardoso, if I can recall, is also a kid. These are just kids being young. Getting in. It's in the moment, the competition. Things happen. So, like you said, Jay, just a lack of accountability, the blame game. You're supposed to be the mentor for these young ladies, and then I just don't like how she carries herself, and how she's mentoring these these young ladies, unfortunately. And like you said, I'm just reiterating everything you said, Jay. Dawn, come on. I mean, what more can I say? And it's not a, K-Walk, you said a little bit earlier, it could be a PR move. It could not be a PR move. But regardless of the fact, she took the high road, she took accountability for her girls' actions. She said we shouldn't be doing this at all. And she will talk to her girls to make sure it doesn't happen again. But we all have to grow. And then she also said she was never a saint herself, so she does understand, from when she played basketball and how things can go. And I'm not trying to say this because I'm a favorite, I just love Dawn, but I do love Dawn, and I just love how she handles things all the way. But K-Sap, your thoughts on Kim Mulkey and Dawn Staley?
Well, first of all, man, K-Walk, you made it believable to find this newfound grace for Dawn Staley, right?
Right.
And I want to ask you guys a question. When are we going to start holding Kim Mulkey accountable, right?
Right.
And the reason why I say that is you go back to her time at Baylor with Brittany Griner, right? You look at some of the situations pertaining to Brittany Griner, how she has publicly came out and said some things about Brittany Griner. Then the situation with Brittany Griner when she was detained in Russia, how she spoke. She never wanted to support that. She didn't want to speak on that, right? Now we fast forward. And when I say that is because you go back to the beginning of the season when Angel Reese was visibly missing out of the lineup.
Yep.
How did Kim Mulkey handle that situation, right? So now we fast forward to the scuffle. The things that Kim Mulkey said is basically she's condoning violence on the women level, right? I wish she would have pushed Angel Reese.
Right.
Like Jason said, what you want to see, a big fight break out, right? Then you look at the grace, the way that Dawn Staley handled the situation. It's in the heat of the battle. They got beside themselves. You know what I'm saying? But like Jason said earlier, if the refs would have got control of that game earlier to set the tone, like, we're not going to tolerate that. We can keep it between the lines, but we're not going to go overboard. But for Kim Mulkey to address it the way she did, we got to start holding her accountable. Sometimes I say to myself, we got to keep Kim Mulkey from the microphone, because a pair of lips to say anything, and it seems like she'll say anything. She downplayed the whole situation. Yep. And it's like, man, I just don't understand you representing women's basketball, where women's basketball right now is booming.
It's on fire.
It's on fire. You got a nice brand out there with all these collegiate players that are doing, special things, from Caitlin Clark to Juju Watkins to Angel Reese to all the players that you have on South Carolina, right? For you to have a black eye like that and for you to come out to address it the way you did, I just think it's time that we need to start holding Kim Mulkey accountable.
Yep. 100%.
Absolutely. K-Walk, your thoughts on this?
Yeah, again, you guys stole my thunder, especially Kay. I was actually where I was going with that. When are we going to start? Because everything that she's mentioned in the past, and then what she's recently said, about the Cordos and about the the Angel Reese, Flojo is one of those. I love when she went up to Dawn Staley. And they talked, and then
yes.
Flaugier. I'm sorry, so I don't know what I said, but I'm sorry. I think Flojo. My bad.
Flojo.
That's a topic for tomorrow, but that's a long story. Another topic. I'm sorry, ladies and gentlemen. But what they talked about and what Dawn Staley has come out and said, about what. The little bit of the conversation that took place. She came up to say, I apologize, and she's like, I know that you're not that type of player. Can we see her? If we're going to hold Kim Mulkey accountable, I want to see that transfer. I want her to go into the transfer portal, and I want her to transfer from LSU to South Carolina. Can we do that? Can we see that? Can we see that? I mean that would be good, a big statement there, man. Because you're sitting there acting like The other day I watched Saturday or Sunday I watched Django. You guys, you familiar with that?
Yeah,
that
with Jamie
movie?
Foxx.
Yeah.
She kind of remind me of that situation. I'm not gonna go too deep into that, ladies and gentlemen. This is why that's how I feel about her. I'm just gonna leave it there. But nonetheless, you just want these guys. You want these ladies just to play ball, for sure. Do go out there, show what what you can do. Put it on the floor, ball, and no elbowing and sit there and give all that and pull hair. We see it. Big brother's watching, Jay, what Coach always used to tell us in high school, the eye in the sky. Don't lie. Exactly. You know what I mean? So you're going to be caught. You're going to be caught in that. So with that being said, with all that being said, I think Mulkey has to be held accountable at some point. Who's going to call her out? I don't know. Maybe a player. I think a player has to do that first and foremost, because we're all seeing this and we're all saying the same thing. So that's
K-Walk, you bring up a good point, because number one, you're right. Who is going to call her out? Because she wins a ton of games. Yeah. So it's it's not like the administration's probably going to have a lot to say. No, but the other thing is, if I'm a parent of a young girl, particularly maybe even of a young African American girl,
scary to say that. Yep.
Kim Mulkey is not like, they ain't on my short list. If they come calling, I'm sorry, I'm not taking that call. Because she just gives off, whatever it is that she gives off, it's just not vibing with me. So I think maybe accountability could come if some of these young recruits are just saying, nah, that's not what I want to be a part of.
Yeah. Jay, you mentioned it right on the head, and I'm gonna just say it. Let's be real. Like you said, these are young African American women, and she's the mentor of these young African American women. But she needs to understand that they're gonna automatically be viewed differently than she is just from the color of their skin. So how she acts, and they're following behind her because they trust her. They're not going to be viewed the same. Angel Reese is already
grace,
right. They won't get the same grace. So she has to understand that. She has to take accountability for that. She has to care enough about these young lady or young women, I should say, to say, you know what? I have to do something differently to ensure that people like Angel Reese is not called a thug because of my actions. Right. Because that's exactly what's going to happen. And that's what's been happening. As hard as it is for a lot of us to have these conversations, this is what it is out here in the real world. I love sports, but at the end of the day, there's still life after sports. But it starts with this type of platform. And Kim Mulkey is the leader of these young women that look up to her. So, and Dawn Staley, I think she better understands that, because she is an African American woman, and she understands I have to be positive within my locker room. I had to show these young ladies how to have a positive mindset, how to take accountability, and really how to act. Unfortunately, I wish we could all act the same, but the reality is we just can't. All right, guys. On that note, I'm gonna